Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody is having a good day. I know a lot of us are very sad and upset about the Montana decision, so breathe, it will be okay. This is how our justice system works, and I'm going to explain a few things. I also got the synopsis and the court documents. I'm going to put the link down below so that you just scroll down and you'll see they have the documents available. Now I've got the synopsis here, and I was just going to go through a few things. Synopsis of the case, and they have the case number, and then they have a list of everyone involved in the case. The Montana Supreme Court reversed a $35 million jury verdict in favor of Alexis Nunes on her claim that Jehovah's Witnesses were negligent as a matter of law when they failed to notify authorities of a 2004 child abuse report her uncle Peter McGowan made to a church elder. Now I'm going to skip down, and it says Montana state statute expressly exempts clergy from mandatory child abuse reporting when a clergy member learns of the abuse in a communication that church doctrine or established church practices requires be kept confidential. Under the Jehovah's Witness established procedures for responding to allegations of serious sins such as child molestation, they will report child abuse to authorities only if required by state law. Now we know here in New Mexico, it's a mandatory reporting state, and the elders still do not report it to the authorities. As with other disclosures, however, the Jehovah's Witnesses deal with such communications in a confidential internal process through what is known as a judicial committee of elders. Now here on page 2, the Supreme Court, now this is the Montana Supreme Court, not the federal Supreme Court. And I just want to mention that each state's Supreme Court, those justices are appointed by the governor of that state. The president has nothing to do with appointing, these justices for each state. Just want to mention that because of a comment. The Supreme Court held that the Jehovah's Witness established doctrine and practice required elders to keep Peter McGowan's disclosure confidential, and they were therefore excused from reporting by the state statute. It disagreed with Alexis that the church did not require confidentiality when the information was shared with committees and church representatives in the national organization. So this is Montana state law. Be upset at Montana, because this is their law. Now, if Watchtower wants to claim the clergy penitent confidentiality, this is where we've even mentioned before in videos, there is a problem, because Watchtower in their literature claims that they do not have a clergy lady distinction. And I have the bond volume here. There's hundreds of mentions when you do a search of this particular thing. This is from the August 2009 Awake, page 22. Should there be a clergy lady distinction? Right in the first paragraph. In the New Testament and during the early apostolic times, there is no mention of clergy or lady, wrote Professor of Theology Cletus Wessels. The Encyclopedia of Christianity states there gradually arose a differentiation into clergy as the office holders and the laity as the rest. Ordinary church members now came to be seen as unqualified mass. And they go on to describe this distinction started in the 3rd century, and we know that. The first subheading, all you are brothers. Now listen to what Watchtower says. God's word tells us that all Christians serve as God's ministers and that none is above or beneath the other. There was a very positive insistence on the absence of class among early Christians. It does talk about spiritually older men did, of course, serve as overseers. However, these men were not paid clerics. For the most part, they were ordinary working men. Now, when you go to JW.org website, They have this. And they even have it in their frequently asked questions. But they very carefully say Jehovah's Witnesses do not have a paid clergy. But yet when they go to court, they claim, oh, well, these elders are our clergy, and we need to uphold the clergy confidentiality when these matters come forward. All right. Now, I want you all to think back to the California case. Watchtower didn't want to pay that fine, and so they went to an appeal court. Then they went to the California Supreme Court, and that decision was upheld. What they did then is go petition the U.S. Federal Supreme Court. Now, this is what may happen, what could happen. The abuse survivors, what they can do now is their lawyer can go and appeal this decision. Now, if it's still upheld in favor of Watchtower, well, then he can take it to the U.S. Supreme Court, just like Zalkin did, trying to get Watchtower to pay what these judgments were. So it can be taken to the Supreme Court, and then it can be fought there. The decision can be made there. Now, we know from history that this is how the justice system works. Roe versus Wade, the deal over the abortion, it went all the way to the Supreme Court. It didn't just, boom, automatically go to the Supreme Court. They have to go through these processes. And like I said, at this point now, the abuse survivors, their lawyer needs to appeal this decision with the Montana Supreme Court, and then it may go through again. And if they are still not, happy with the outcome, or if it's in favor of Watchtower, then it can be taken to the U.S. Supreme Court. So let's hope that this goes through. In my humble opinion, this clergy confidentiality clause in most states, that needs to be done away with. So if there's any activists or lobbyists in the XJW community that wants to do some good to get these laws changed, we need to get these laws changed, that this clergy confidentiality law gets done away with. Because at what point does the law take precedence over the protection of children? This should not be allowed, in my humble opinion, because this is where a lot of damage is being done. And you can thank the Catholic Church for getting this law on the books in the first place, because that's who started all of this BS, is, oh, we need the confidentiality of the confessional. Well, now these other churches, like Jehovah's Witnesses, are now using this law. Well, even though we have 3 elders in a judicial committee instead of, a one-on-one confessional like the Catholic Church, this is still the same principle, and we still have the confessional clergy confidentiality, and we don't need to report this. So, anyway, like I said, be angry at the state's laws, because these are the laws that are in place. Those are what needs to be changed. Helps everyone a little bit. It's like, it's okay to be upset and angry, but just let's see what's going to happen in the due process of the law. And like I said, if the abuse survivor's lawyer is worth his weight in gold, then he will take this and appeal it. And if anyone is associated with this court case or knows the lawyer, get him some of these articles. And it may even be in the organization book that they do not have a clergy class. Because I know this has been used in the past in some court cases where Watchtower has tried, to use this excuse. oh, well, this is under the clergy confidentiality confessional. No, because in your literature, you don't have a clergy class. So anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for the cards and gifts and love and support. We appreciate it tremendously. So you have a great day. Bye.